I look at them making an investment to us.
Yeah.
And that investment deserves outcomes. It deserves a return. And I look at it in this standpoint, a social return. And that social return is we can tell them if that family is progressing or where, if they're not progressing, why, and we break all that data down. So at the end of the day, it's to make an impact for tomorrow, and maybe we can change the cycle of poverty. Maybe not in this generation, but maybe we can change it in the children's next generation.
I am joined now by the co-founder and still on the board. Excuse me, no, you are the co-founder. You're the guy in general. Still on the board is for a different part of your job, and we're going to get to that in a second. This is Ken Tracy, the co-founder of Impacting Tomorrow, a nonprofit in Loveland that is doing tremendous work in offering not only food, like we talked about in that Big Bite segment, but also education and health care and dental care and all sorts of things. You guys have a facility that's all under one roof.
Yeah, it's a 45,000 square foot campus, and the whole idea, the model is to address the holistic approach of a person. I mean, it's real. And so we have a large warehouse that handles food logistics that come and go. We have, outside of probably the Free Store Food Bank, the second largest cold storage chain in the city. And we're able to manage a large turnover of food. But food is one of the things that we do. We also have a full medical, full dental, and we also have a pediatric occupational therapy program. Wow. And then in addition to that, we have a program called Carry Her, which we focus on diapers for the mom. And we also focus on feminine hygiene for the ladies in high school.
So this is your nonprofit, Impacting Tomorrow, and the idea, it's on Ward's Corner in Loveland, and you guys recently opened up this idea that it's this holistic outfit that's all in one place. You're not bouncing from a traveling dentist doing good work for people out of a bus, and then going over to pick up your food for the day, and then maybe going to a clinic to get checked. Like, this is, families can get all the help that they need all in one place. Is that a demand that you saw where there was a hole on?
Yeah, number one, there's a couple of demands that's there. Number one, it is the holistic approach. All the studies we looked at, people were going from one organization to another, filling out endless amount of paperwork. So at our facility, they fill out one piece of paperwork, get a membership card, and then they're part of something that is built around dignity. I think all of us, we go out on a regular basis, and we expect when we sit down at a restaurant to be treated with great service. It's good. It's good to sit down and have a good meal with people. I believe that no matter what social economic condition you are in, you deserve to have respect and be treated with a high level of dignity. So we pride ourselves in that. We make sure every guest coming in to our campus understands what we do, how we do it, and they feel part of the family, which is important to us.
Yeah, for sure. Well, that's why in that, that video segment that I played just before we went to break, where it's this guy, he's in a truck and he's talking about how he worked his whole life and he feels bad for being in line to get food. Like, what a horrible feeling to have on top of all the other stress that you've got in your life, and the idea of people just being treated, not even politely, with dignity. I think is a really wonderful core element of what you guys are doing.
Yeah. One of the interesting things, I always share this story because it's kind of touching to me. There was a mom that had come in with their 6-year-old son, and the mom had just been laid off and had been struggling for food and really now getting back because she lost her insurance, so she needed assistance from dental care. And then he was struggling in school and needed assistance helping with speech pathology. And she was having a problem getting into any of those services. Walks into our market, comes in, and the boy says, "We need to get out of here," because he's never seen anything like this. And then he went through it a couple times, and the mom was saying, "No, it's all right." And then finally came up and saw the ice cream section that we have. Because of a corporate sponsor that we get ice cream, and we have it right there. His mood instantly changed. It was like, "Hey, Mom, can I have some?" And for the first time, she told me in almost 6 months, she was able to say yes to her son. Now, that right there
It's heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, but we hear stories like that so many times.
Yeah.
And then he was struggling in school. Immediately, all he had to do was walk out the door, 2 doors down, went into pediatric occupational therapy, scheduled a meeting. Then after that, mom went down, went to the dentist, scheduled a meeting with the dentist, all in one visit. So she didn't have to come back. Everything was taken care of right there. And that child, which we see over 95,000 children a year at our location, that child was taken care of.
Wow, Ken, that's amazing. I know we've got some footage that got sent over of just sort of what the inside of this looks like. There's so many different options and programs that you're offering for you right there. The market, the boutique, Grow Together, Health Source. There's so many different options that you have there. That feels like it's such a complicated thing to have put together. You and your wife founded this thing, and so much of it is based on data, like you were saying. And I think that's such a key part to making sure that what you're doing is worth people's time.
You know, in business, I always worked this way. SSPPT, big acronym I always stuck with, and it was strategy, structure, process, people, and then technology. So we went back, and what was our strategy? Our strategy was to solve the issue of individuals that needed help to having to go from one location to another. So our strategy was, how do we do this? And then we built out a whole strategy around that. Once we had that strategy developed, we then said, all right, how are we going to structure this? And so we brought over 7 team members from our company who never grew up in the nonprofit world, and they went right at it. We took business analysts that broke down data. We took process people that broke down how do we deliver this service. And within a matter of 6 months, we had an entire operating system established with unbelievable partners like Health Source of Ohio, with Grow Together Therapy. We developed a seamless process, overlapped it with technology that tracks all the data, all the interaction, which gives us information for us to get better, to make sure those people are being taken care of.
You're running this like a business.
Oh, totally. It's a totally business structure. We have then built a methodology around it where we not only track the quantitative data, we also track the qualitative data, compress that, so now I'm able to give every single donor that gets involved with Impacting Tomorrow, I look at them making an investment to us.
Yeah.
And that investment deserves outcomes, that deserves a return. And I look at it in this standpoint, a social return. And that social return is we can tell them if that family is progressing, or where, if they're not progressing, why, and we break all that data down. So at the end of the day, it's to make an impact for tomorrow, and maybe we can change the cycle of poverty. Maybe not in this generation, but maybe we can change it in the children's next generation.
And do you see, because of this data that you're getting in terms of the care that people get and the effect that it's having on them, the idea that you've got it all in one place makes people more likely to come to you versus maybe bouncing around to a bunch of different places?
Started it 6 years ago. We had 20,000 people. We're going to go over 200,000 this year.
Wow,
with that whole model, those are great numbers. I'm really glad we have great numbers like that. But more importantly, those people have been able to show us a path of how their lives are getting better. And so what we've been able to do is break down all that data, and we built out basically a family stabilizer program from a ladder of 1 to 10, 10 being, man, we're living well, 1, they're at crisis mode. We're able to track how they're doing within that ladder. And we've seen individuals that started off as a 2 and 3 are now at a 4 and 5. And as they progress, their families playing with less stress and being more stable.
What are the biggest challenges that you see for families right now? Because I think something that happens a lot is that people hear about the statistics and data about higher cost of food and inflation and higher utility bills and how close people are to being able to take care of themselves versus needing to ask for help. And I would wager that you see people that never thought they would be in this position more often than not.
I would agree 100% with what you just said there. The thing is that everyone is facing is the benefit cliff.
Yeah.
Over 75% of the people we see are working, but they can't afford. So they have to decide between, do I get groceries today or do I take my children to the dentist? Do I buy diapers or do I go see my pediatric therapist with my child? And the whole idea is we have to make sure we cover that gap, that cliff, so that they don't go off and they fall into a worse situation. Yeah. That's what's happening. So in some situations, yes, it could be food. In other situations, it could be medical care. In other situations, it could be diapers for that child. We're trying to fill in 5 of the 6 gaps that have been identified nationally that we've got to identify. And we're filling those, and progression is happening.
You said 75% of the people you see are working people?
75% of the people we are seeing are working, have jobs, but they have to make decisions on what they're going to spend their money on.
Was there a specific reason behind choosing the facility in Loveland on Ward's Corner? Because location plays a big part, I would imagine, in any sort of business or nonprofit. What was the logic behind the Ward's Corner location?
Size, warehouse space was big, but more importantly, what was so interesting, it's central. It's right off of 275. So we are within a 25-minute drive of the largest demographic of the greater Cincinnati area. Mm-hmm. And what's interesting, a lot of people say, well, transportation is a barrier. In some cases, yes, but what happens is if you identify the right partners that can drive those people to your facility, and then because of our medical facility, Medicaid and Medicare also provides free transportation to those locations, there you're eliminated a huge barrier. And because of that, our stats, we see more people west of 75 than we do east of 71.
That's an incredible stat. And you know that because of all the stuff you're keeping track of.
We know that because of what's happening.
That's extraordinary.
We have a heat map. I can tell you where all of the areas that are needing assistance come from. That's where we know where to put our next location. You have to always be thinking forward. You have to understand the data so that you know where can I address the next body of population.
Ken Tracy founded Impacting Tomorrow with his wife, by the way.
Yeah.
Who I think she was busy today.
She is.
But Ken founded Impacting Tomorrow with his wife. We're going to get into Ken's history and what brought him to this situation where he's now running this nonprofit, very much like a business. It's going to make sense once we get back to it, and we're going to have more on that when we get back from break. Welcome back to the Working Lunch. I'm Jack Crumley. I am joined by Ken Tracy, the co-founder of Impacting Tomorrow, a nonprofit that is doing tremendous work in the community. I have a all-in-one holistic facility in Loveland offering food and healthcare and occupational therapy and education. It's really tremendous work that you're doing. But I'm absolutely fascinated by your story of how you came into this. We talked about the importance of the way data is driving what you guys are doing. And flashing back a few years, you started a staffing company called TailMed.
Yep.
How long ago was that?
Yeah, that was in 2006.
And so this was a nurse, a healthcare staffing company?
Yeah, so what it was, I grew up in corporate America.
Yeah.
So I was sitting on my back porch. My brother-in-law's an anesthesiologist, and he was talking to me about the staffing industry as a whole in the medical environment and how it's so driven by census. You know, if more patients, you need more people.
Okay.
Less patients, you don't need as much people, and how that's managed. So I was listening to him, and I wrote a business plan about that, and we launched it in 2006. And we started off just my wife and I, and we went from 4 employees to 4,000, and we became the 6th largest in the United States.
Yeah.
Loved it. It was a great experience and stayed on board. And then we partnered with another entity out of Omaha, Nebraska. Together, we just continued to grow. And then I reached a stage in my life, and I said, you know what? I'm 60 years old. I want to get into that next chapter, and that's to make a big impact in Cincinnati. And so I still am on the board. and I stepped back as the CEO.
Yeah, I mean, this company grew into a pretty amazing entity, and then with that, the merger that you're talking about there, this was a big deal company. You were in the national conversation for staffing on the medical side of things.
I appreciate
you really
your
were.
kindness. It takes a lot of work when you start a business, and you have to make that commitment. You've got to operate with great sound principles. You've got to be very disciplined in how you do it. And when you do that and you're great and you get great clients, great things can happen. And that's what we were fortunate to be part of.
Is it about seeing a whole, the way you've described a couple of things now, the way you founded TailMed and doing Impacting Tomorrow now, seeing a hole in the market, recognizing a need, and then you sat down and came up with a business plan on how I start something that fixes that need. Is that just sort of how you're wired?
Yeah, it is. My wife will tell you that too.
Okay.
You see opportunity and you look at it and you're like, how can I do that better? Or what needs to happen here to make it great so you can be what I call a paradigm shift changer. And so in doing that, we recognized a need, found a niche, identified an operational way to approach it, and it changed the way the industry looked at things differently. And I enjoy doing that. I enjoy doing something that will make a change to help people for the better. And at the end of the day, that's what happened.
You also have talked now a couple times about how Impacting Tomorrow was founded along with your wife, and you worked with your wife in TailMed. I got to say, that's a very sort of specific relationship to be able to have where, waking up, having a day, whether it's the weekend or not, and then also working together. That's a really unique relationship, I'd go so far as to say.
I get asked that a lot, by the way. I just want to let you know.
What's the
secret
secret
we've been
there?
married 38 years.
Yeah.
My wife and I, she's my best friend. Wouldn't know what to do without her. One of the interesting things is you have to have a mutual understanding that business is business.
Okay.
And your personal life is your personal life. It took us a while to get used to that. It took us a while to understand that. But once we did, I'll tell you, there was no greater business partner I ever had, because she is the finance side. She understands the operational side. She was great at what she was great at, and I was great at what I was great at. And together we were able to sit in a room with a lot of other very talented people and build something that's what it is today.
And you've done it twice now. Is there like an aha moment, like what you were talking about just now, when you have this moment of realization of like, oh, she's a gear that's shaped like this, and I'm a gear that's shaped like this, and look at that, we both fit together?
I wish I could say, there's an aha moment, but it does in business. If your plan is good, you'll recognize the areas that you're not good at, and you'll recognize the areas that you have the strengths. So it's to be a great leader, you have to recognize your great strengths, and you have to recognize where I'm not good, and I got to find the right people to help me in this area. And a lot of people are scared sometimes, I'll say, in recognizing that you do have a weakness, and it's exposing yourself. It's like, I'm not good at this, and sometimes that's hard to say. I find no difficulty in saying that, and I know there's things I'm good at, and there's things I'm not good at. And so, for us to take a step back and make that vulnerable exposure there, in a sense, I think that's what made us great. That was one of many things that made us great.
That's remarkable. You said that it was really important for you to do something that had a positive impact in Cincinnati. Is this?
Yeah.
Did you grow up here? Are you from here?
No, Northeast Ohio. As we were talking earlier, Northeast Ohio, but came to college down here. Met my wife in college, and we stayed here. We love Cincinnati. Love the Reds. Love the Bengals. Just love being part of a community that cares. There's a lot of great people here that want to make a difference.
Yeah.
And we have some tremendous friends, able to do a lot of different things and give back.
I just think it's an interesting sort of arc. Northeast Ohio, and was this an urban setting in Northeast Ohio, or was it a little more rural?
No, I was born in the country, out in a farm, and grew up with a huge farm in my backyard and loved it.
Did you go to school for business specifically because you
No,
knew you wanted to start a
it's
company?
Interesting. I got my degree in psychology with a minor in Bible. That was exactly my background. My very first job out of school was I was a youth pastor at a large church here in Cincinnati, and enjoyed it, loved it. But then there was an individual at the church came to me and said, "Hey, have you ever done project management?" And was able to work for a large public traded company that gave me tremendous training, and grew with that company and launched my career where before I knew it, I was managing the entire eastern part of the United States.
So because of your schooling and at least what your initial sort of educational plan was, in terms of starting things like TailMed and even the approach to impacting tomorrow, does that all come from a people person sort of standpoint, understanding the way people are? You were talking just now about people being honest with themselves about their own shortcomings. That's a very sort of psychology way of looking at it. Is that kind of your default lens to look through of trying to understand somebody and the way they're wired and the way they communicate?
I would say, I would say that I'm okay with who I am. I don't ever want to come across thinking I know it all. I respect people no matter where they're at in their journey, and I enjoy just building people up, making them better so that it can make their life better. And I believe the more we invest into people and we can teach and train and show a path to success, the better our community will be. So everything we did from a process standpoint within our company, we drove our people. So when we were in TailMed, we paid all of our employees to go volunteer in the greater Cincinnati area. We wanted to know what was out there. And so our employees became engaged in what they did. And when you go from a startup company to 4,000 employees, that's where Impacting Tomorrow started. Yeah. And then from there, we wanted to do more.
And, talking also about partnerships, and when you had TailMed, which I was incorrectly calling TailMed for the last few minutes, so thank you for being gracious enough on that.
All right.
The partnerships that you find as a business owner and when you're working with nonprofits that are trying to do good, forging these partnerships, that's something that's still fueling what Impacting Tomorrow is doing. I was looking at members of your board, and it's former P&Gers, and it's Fifth Third Bank folks, and it's Key Bank folks, and all that then fuels what you're doing.
Yeah, I've played more favor cards than I think I've ever played in my life. Yeah, we have an unbelievable board. Corporate America here in Cincinnati has really dove into Impacting Tomorrow. We've got folks from Key Bank, Fifth Third. We've got folks from Haran Investments. We've got folks from Gray Line Motor Coach, the CEO there, P&G. Those folks that were former executives or are currently now executives have really jumped into being what we're doing, seeing the opportunity and giving to it. And we have over 30 corporate partners. 30 corporate partners are involved with Impacting Tomorrow.
And does that data-driven approach that you've got, does that sort of fuel their decision and their level of involvement by being able to see that, hey, we're doing stuff that's actually having an impact on people versus just rolling a truck out and hoping that somebody shows up?
Yeah, I would say yes. And here's another thing I would say is our capabilities. What we're able to offer are key points that need to be addressed and identified for people to be successful. They see that. They see it every day in their business life. So together, we all created an environment that is driven by business, but for the people in this community.
Wow. That's I can't think of a better bow to put on it than that. Ken Tracy is the co-founder of Impacting Tomorrow. It's a nonprofit based in Loveland that is doing tremendous work. It's the only holistic community center in the country offering food and healthcare, dental, education, all under one roof, and charting the growth and the effect that it's having on families here locally. Ken, thanks very much for coming on the show.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Appreciate what you're doing for the community.